Good day, race fans! I'm Unsilent, and we're on the air with the Formula One Drive-Thru Podcast, coming to you just hours after the Belgian Grand Prix Round 12 of the 2017 Formula One World Championship, won by Lewis Hamilton, his fifth victory of the season, ahead of Sebastian Vettel. The two title rivals again, neck and neck for another race. This time, advantage Hamilton on the Spa-Francorchamps circuit, his 58th career victory and his 200th career Grand Prix. Completing the podium was Daniel Ricciardo of Red Bull Racing. Let's take a look at today's topics. As always, we start with the recap of today's race, the Belgian Grand Prix. And from there, not as much news broke over the summer break as I thought, but we've got three big 2018 driver signings that are confirmed or near confirmed. Toro Rosso is staying with Renault. What does that mean for McLaren? And F1 is getting into eSports. Yeah, there wasn't a lot of news over the summer break, like I said. And let's start with the Belgian Grand Prix recap. Here are the race results. As you can see, all 20 starters on the screen here. Lewis Hamilton picking up the win by just under 2.5 seconds, ahead of Vettel and Ricciardo. Kimi Hakkinen had a 10-second stop-go penalty along the race. We'll get to that in a moment. But he came home fourth despite that. And then as we go on down the list, not finishing Pascal Wehrlein, who had a problem that dropped him out very early. Max Verstappen, we'll talk about his day, and Fernando Alonso, because of course he couldn't have a good run without the car packing in on him. Alonso had been up as high as P7 at one point in the race, and then ended up retiring. He was out of the points very quickly thereafter. He was out of the points by lap 6. So, he was on lap 2 up to 7th, and then within 5 laps had dropped down and out of the points. So it's not a good day for the McLaren Honda driver, but is there ever a good day for Fernando Alonso in that McLaren Honda? But let's start at the start. Everybody just sort of held station through the first couple of corners. Alonso got a great start. He ended up, like I said, up into the top 10, around P8 by the time the start was over. Everyone just sort of held station in the top 6. There wasn't a lot of passing in that top 6 group, but in the midfield, there was a lot of dicing before even DRS came into effect. Then once DRS came into effect, then everybody just started going by everyone. It was like the slipstream at an IndyCar Speedway race. And it was going reasonably well for everyone until lap number 8 when Verstappen lost all the power and had to pull off to the side. Raikkonen got a 10-second stop-go penalty for ignoring yellow flags. They showed it on the TV. He didn't lift. Martin talked about on the Sky broadcast, which is what we get in Canada, when Martin talked about, some guys used to have one hand out of the cockpit to say, hey, I'm slowing down in the double yellow situation. I remember Mika Hakkinen was fond of that. Was there yellow flags? Mika would have his right hand on the wheel, left hand out. Mika used to, when they were giving him a hard time back in 98, 99 about not slowing down enough for yellow flags, Mika would have his right hand on the wheel, left hand out of the cockpit, saying, look at me, I have to be going slow, I'm doing it one-handed. Kimi did lose a few positions due to the 10-second stop-go. Thanks to the magic of Formula One live timing, making you pay $50 a year, so you can see lap charts. I don't know exactly where Kimi came out, but he came out around 7th or 8th, and he just kind of charged by everyone from there. He eventually got by up into position number 5. But anyway, lap 30, we had a little dust up with the Force Indias. Perez gets by Ocon in La Source. And Ocon gets a good run out of La Source, trying the up and under. But Perez did not want to leave him any room on the straight running to Eau Rouge, so they touched going down there. Perez tried to squeeze him into the pit wall. Ocon could have backed out. Perez could have left him a shit ton more room. But it's one of those racing deals, really, but the team will have a good time cussing them out in the debrief. But that resulted in the safety car as Ocon's front wing ended up on the track and Perez was crawling around slowly on 3 tires. But that was enough for a safety car. Everyone comes in the pits. And just when it looked like it was going to get interesting, because Mercedes had to go on the softs and Vettel had a fresh set of the Ultras in reserve, well, on the restart, like I said, turbulent air, Vettel got one look at Hamilton, down the Kemmel straight on the restart. Didn't have enough speed. Mercedes engine OP in a straight line, but we, been used to that since 2014, let's be honest. And that was it. Vettel couldn't maintain the gap to get a DRS advantage. Draft go by, nope. And that was it. We did get one good piece of overtaking, a 3-wide dust-up between Ricciardo, Bottas, and Raikkonen. Bottas was the loser on the day. He ended up going from 3rd to 5th in that exchange as Ricciardo went to the left, Raikkonen went to the right, and Bottas bailed out and just bailed on the chicane altogether. But that was it. That was the race. Hamilton picking up the win. And we will get to the driver standings in just a moment as we go again. I didn't run down the top 10. You have Hamilton again winning with Vettel and Ricciardo rounding out the podium. Raikkonen finishing P4 again despite that 10-second stop-go penalty. Bottas in 5th, Hülkenberg in 6th. Is Renault the best of the rest? Well, how about this? Is Hülkenberg the best of the rest? Well, if the Force Indias hadn't taken each other out, we would have had a good fight between the Force Indias and Renault to determine that. Romain Grosjean scoring points. I believe Crofty said that Haas has scored more points this season than they had all of last season, probably helped by the fact they have 2 guys that are capable of scoring points this season. Felipe Massa didn't even make it out of Q1, and thanks to some strategy and some speed, he was P8 on the day. Esteban Ocon, the only point scorer from the Force Indias, missing half a front wing for a lap wasn't as bad as turning into a tricycle for a lap. And then Carlos Sainz, very quiet day. We didn't hear from him, Chili Sainz all day, but to 10th place he was. It's 41 points from Vettel to Bottas. I know people are saying, well, yeah, it's a 3-way fight, and you'll keep in mind I've been saying for a while now. No, it's not. Unless Bottas can get ahead of Hamilton, it's still a 2-way fight, and it's going to be a 2-way fight to the finish. 7 points separating them. That's the difference between first and second. But countback will put Lewis in the championship lead if he wins and Vettel is second. And with that, let's get on to the news, and let's start with the driver market news. The 3 biggest dominoes in the driver market fell in the run-up to the Grand Prix today. Ferrari confirmed that Vettel has re-signed with the Scuderia for 3 years through 2020. Raikkonen will be back for 2018, and Britain's Channel 4 has also reported that Bottas will be back with Mercedes next year. So that is all of the top 6 seats confirmed for 2018. No changes for Mercedes, Ferrari, and Red Bull. So any hopes for an exciting, silly season seem to have gone up with this announcement. Now, there was a rumor that Total Wolff had been pushing Seb to sign a 1-year extension because Hamilton is out of contract at the end of next season. Oh yeah, that's the thing I should mention is 3 of the top 6 seats were up for grabs for next year. The other 3 are up for grabs for 2019 with Hamilton, Ricciardo, and Verstappen all out of contract after 2018. So there was this rumor that Toto was saying to Seb, well, Lewis might retire at the end of his next contract, so there might be a seat open for you. Take a 1-year contract, see what happens, we'll get you in for 2019. Niki Lauda said that they weren't even going to wait till 2019. They were negotiating with him until June before Vettel decided to stay in Maranello. So there was always a chance that Vettel could come across and replace Bottas, and then we could see what fun was happening at Ferrari, which we've been talking about is like, okay, if one of those 2 leaves, who replaces him at Ferrari? So bad news for Sergio Perez. His only seat that is available for him for next season is Renault if he wants to leave Force India and move up to a factory team. Now, Vettel's signing also makes the 2019 driver market quite dull, along with Hamilton and both Red Bull drivers being out of contract. We know that Leclerc is likely to jump to Ferrari from Sauber, where he's likely to land for next season. So 4 top seats are available, but the one that anyone could potentially move to is Ferrari, and that would be the big domino. But if Leclerc's going there, then it basically means unless Hamilton retires, that everybody's probably best to hold station, unless like Renault or Honda with the McLaren suddenly has a really big jump in performance and suddenly they become top or near top caliber teams. Speaking of Honda, there was talk that Toro Rosso was going to get a Honda engine deal, a Honda engine customer deal, but no dice. They couldn't come to an agreement. It was reported that they couldn't agree on finances. So with that engine deal collapsing, it looks like McLaren is stuck so long as Honda wants to remain in the sport. The FIA and Formula One management are reportedly keen to keep Honda in the sport as a 4th engine supplier, so they wouldn't be open to letting McLaren abandon the Japanese market and leave them without a team. So long as McLaren is the only team that is running a Honda engine, McLaren is going to be stuck with Honda. McLaren's escape plan, though, has been entirely based on finding someone else for Honda to supply. Longbow Finance jumping from Honda to Ferrari, and then Toro Rosso staying with Renault. It meant McLaren were SOL, but Renault did admit that they were talking with McLaren about an engine supply deal should Toro Rosso or Sauber have jumped ship to Honda. If McLaren could have changed engine manufacturers, it looked like Renault was the only option for them there. And Renault was kind of open to it, but they weren't too keen on being a fourth engine supply for McLaren. And finally, in a move similar to what Formula E has done, Formula 1 will be getting into eSports with the F1 eSports Series. And the new competition is a sponsorship between Formula 1, the F1 game developer Codemasters, and esports competition organizer Gfinity. The F1 eSports Series is running from qualifiers in September through a final at the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. This will, of course, be run on the F1 2017 video game. Now, it's interesting that the FIA is trying to pitch its major open wheel to championships to a younger audience, and they're doing it through video games. I don't know how much, Madden contributes to the popularity of the NFL, or other video game series for sports contributes to FIFA games or NASCAR games or whatnot contributes to the popularity of the sport. You think if there was some correlation for motorsport, that, Forza Motorsport would turn sports car racing, especially like GT3 racing, into the most popular form of motorsport on the planet. So currently, Formula E has a virtual race between its drivers and programmers at the Consumer Electronics Show in Las Vegas. We have Formula E content that is soon coming to R Factor 2. McLaren has its World's Fastest Gamer series for a McLaren simulator seat that they're running through R Factor 2, Forza Motorsports, and iRacing. And now Formula 1 is getting into the action through F1 2017. What prizes are going to be available? They haven't been too clear. Assume a cash prize. You get an automatic berth to the semifinals next year, and you get to be scanned into F1 2018 as well, which is kind of cool. And of course, F1 2017, I'll be doing some videos on the channel for F1 2017, the video game, and the first one's going to be a bit of a glitches and crashes compilation from the opening weekend of F1 2017. It's a fun enough game, but they have this big problem with the multiplayer where most people get disqualified for completing a race. So they do have some things to work on before they actually get to the online qualifiers. Unless it's going to be like a time trial thing, they kind of need to get the kinks ironed out in multiplayer. And that will do it for this episode of the F1 Drive-Thru Podcast. Thanks very much for joining me, as always. We'll be back next week for the Italian Grand Prix from Monza. The Tifosi will be out in force. You saw a lot of fans wearing orange for Max Verstappen this time out. Well, it's going to be a sea of red next week as all the Ferrari fans turn out at the Autodromo Nazionale Monza. But again, that's not for another week. So until then, I'm Unsilent. Thanks very much for joining me. Like the video if you liked it. Subscribe if you're new. Share on social media. Follow on social media. The social media handle is Unsilent on Air, and that is for Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and Tumblr. And until the next time, I'm Unsilent. Thanks very much for joining me. Like, share, subscribe, and we will see you next time.